You made it? No, okay, okay. Go to the kitchen. Hey, let me get some of the cake. Alright, let's get started for tonight. If you have any questions online, just send them to me either through Facebook or through Google Hangouts. And we're gonna open up with prayer. So if anybody has any prayer requests, I mean, you have any prayer requests or prayer reports?
Praise God for everything.
Praise God for everything.
Healing, life in general. And I guess pray for my mom. She's going to have surgery.
What's after surgery?
Surgery on the over, cyst on the over, they're going to take it out.
Outpatient or she's got to stay the night?
It's outpatient. Fast.
Prayer. Any other prayer requests or prayer report?
Yeah, I thank God because I got to talk to a couple of movie stars not too long ago. But I interviewed them on the MZ Now show.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm a cameo appearance on MZ Now Radio. It's a West Coast radio show. And we talked to them about everything. It's crazy. And they're okay right there in my studio. So that's why
I know where your shop is.
And I thank God we got new furniture. Everything's changed. Everything's getting back to normal. I wasn't worried. God's gonna put it on.
Gotcha.
That's the rest. He puts what he wants us. He wants me to just aspire to the next level. You're gonna aspire to turn.
Let's see.
Not to worry.
My first report is finally moved. It took a minute. And then I decided I wasn't going to pay for movers. That was a mistake. Next time I'm paying for movers. I was like, I'm moving out of a small apartment, so I can't have that much stuff. I have a lot of stuff. So next time, definitely movers. But praise God that we finally moved in. So let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for being you. We thank you for life, for health, for strength. We thank you for giving us healing and deliverance in our bodies. We pray right now, Lord God, that you would just begin to move in our lives like you've never moved before. We pray over Jaime's mom and the surgery she's having tomorrow. And I pray that you will bless the hands of the doctors, the nurses, and everybody that touches her, Lord. I pray that her surgery goes well and that she is able to move out of the surgery quickly, speedy recovery, Lord God, and that she's able to be okay. I just thank you for Jaime, Lord God, and all of his praise reports and his prayer requests, Lord God. I pray that you just begin to move in his life in a mighty way. I pray over my praise report as well, Lord God, and thank you for helping me move. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being God. Thank you for being our healer. Thank you for being our deliverer. As we head into Holy Week next week, Lord God, starting with the triumphant entry of Christ, your Son, on Sunday, this coming Sunday. I pray that churches around America will experience a revival in you, Lord God. As many as starting their Easter sermons and everything this Sunday, but we just pray that they remember the true reason for the season. It's not tithes, it's not offering, it's not just butts in the seats, Lord God. It's souls saved. And I pray that be every church's mission this Sunday and next Sunday, when their attendance is going to be through the roof for Easter, Lord God. I pray that they give the people Jesus. And I pray that they respond all throughout this nation, all throughout this world. In Jesus' name we pray. Everybody said, amen.
Amen.
All right. I like this song. So what we're gonna talk about this week, we're gonna go to Matthew 16.
Oh, she said she'll change up. So she'll let you, she might.
I can do that at school.
Oh, you can do that at school.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
They make me do it.
what grade do you have? What grade do you have?
61.
16 verse 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of grade do you have?
I'm right there.
Let's do our Bible pledge. Hold up your Bible in your right hand and repeat after me, but here it on mine. This is my Bible.
This is my Bible.
I am what it says I am.
I am what it says I am.
I have what it says I have.
I have what it says I have.
I can do what it says I can do.
I can do what it says I can do.
Tonight I will be taught
Now I'm top.
the word of God. My heart is receptive.
100%.
Oh yeah, my mind is alert. I'm ready to receive the incorruptible, indestructible, and living seed of the word of God. I will never be the same. Never, never, never. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we're going to be talking about Palm Sunday this week. You want to knock out those verses for me?
Yeah.
Matthew 16, 21 through 28? Because we're going to be reading a lot out of Luke, but I wanted to start with this in Matthew.
From that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the service of God, but merely human disciples.
The next
And he said to
day,
his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me.
Oh, that's a deep
Or
question.
whoever wants to save a life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man come in his kingdom.
All right. So in this verse, Matthew 16, 21 to 28, Jesus was teaching us a couple of things in this verse that was leading up to his death and resurrection. 1 second. So verse 21 says, from that time on, Jesus began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem. So verse 21 is telling us from that time on. It's basically saying that everything in regards to Jesus is not going to happen the way we picture it in the pretty time frame that we picture it. It's from that time on. Like after Jesus came back from the dead, he hung out on earth for 40 days. Like a lot of people don't teach that, but Jesus hung out on earth 40 days after he resurrected. From that time on, like he made appearances throughout the New Testament. He appeared to Paul. He appeared before Stephen. He appeared again in the book of Revelation. So this was the defining moment in his life that he was trying to get to his disciples and try to make them understand, but they weren't quite getting it. Verse 22. Peter took him to the side and began to rebuke him. Never, he said, this should never happen to you. Now, Peter was a hothead. Peter was, I guess he was the equivalent of modern Americans, because Peter started to tell Jesus, no, you're not going to die. No, you're not going to leave us. Like, you're going to be with us forever. And I thought that his choice of words was amazing here in verse 22. He said, get behind me, Satan. He said, get behind me, Peter. He said, get behind me, Peter's action. He said, get behind me, Satan. Why do you think Jesus called Peter Satan at that moment?
Because he had that spirit of, what do you call that? Deceiving spirit in it.
That's exactly right. He had a demonic spirit on him. So it wasn't Peter that was talking. It was Satan talking through him to distract him from his ultimate purpose. Because his ultimate purpose was to come and die for us. And then he tells him, like, no, you're not going to die. Never, Lord. This should never happen to you. But that was his whole purpose of why he was even telling the story in the first place, is that this was going to happen to him. In verse 24, Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up the cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What do you think Jesus meant in those two verses? What are those two passages?
Well, in order to find God, you gotta let go of everything, just trust Him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so once you let go of everything, it's like losing your life, you know? And just relying on Him. That's what it is. On that one. And you must deny everything that's worldly, you know?
Yeah.
And then you follow God, and you gotta remember, it's all for His purpose, His plan. It's not your plan. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's done. That's why He tells you just gotta take up the cross and follow Him. That you know, take up everything, like forget about everything, just follow me and trust and believe.
And that's the essence of what he was saying right there. You gotta trust him, follow him, you gotta believe, and you gotta leave everything else. Like even if it
and they got up and left their family, the kids, everybody, their fishing boats, and they followed Him because they had it in them. They believed God chose. God's going to choose you. Once He chooses you, it's you know you ain't got to worry about nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. If God chooses you, He's gonna provide everything that He needs for you. So you don't have to think for yourself anymore. You don't have to think for about family members, because if they're true, they're gonna be okay.
And
God's gonna provide
everything, everybody. And He's got the whole wide world in His hand. He got something.
Yeah. Got the whole world in His hands. So that is part of what Jesus prophesied to His disciples on His way out. Now, in Matthew, this is of course Matthew 16, Matthew goes to chapter 28, so there's a lot more to Matthew. But what I want to go through is Luke chapter 21.
And we go to Luke now?
Yeah. Am I going to go there? There we go.
One verse.
I think we're still. No.
Yay!
One second.
I
think it's around.
Luke 21.
No, it's a lot. Okay, Luke 19. That's what it looks like for me.
One verse.
Verse 28. So I'll start reading minutes, we're going to read a lot of Luke. So Luke 19, verse 28. After Jesus had said this, he went ahead, going up to Jerusalem. As he approached Bethphage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Unite it, untie it, and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" In verse 32, those who were sent ahead went and found just as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, as his owner asked them, "Why are you untying the colt?" They replied, "The Lord needs it." It must suffice. Verse 35, they brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. As he went along, people spread their cloaks on the road. When he came near the place where the road goes down to the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of disciples began to joyfully praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they have seen. Verse 38, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." Verse 40, I tell you, he replied, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out. As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it. Even you, have only known on this day will bring you peace, but as now is hidden from your eyes. The day will come when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within their walls. They will not leave one stone on another because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. I want to show you a video here. Hopefully, this plays.
I tell you, they will be quiet. The stones themselves will begin shouting.
All right, so that's kind of what we just read. So Jesus told his disciples, well, he told the Pharisees who asked about his disciples, why do you think the Pharisees were upset with the disciples giving the praise upon Jesus that they gave him? They were the religious leaders of that day.
Because they didn't believe Jesus who he was.
That's it in a nutshell. They didn't believe Jesus was who he was, so they saw
All these people
like just.
crazy over him.
Now you look at it from the Jewish perspective, from somebody who did not believe that that was Jesus, they were clearly upset with what was happening. Crowds were gathering, they were placing out palm branches in front of him. This is fulfilling prophecy from the book of Isaiah, the way Jesus chose to enter into Jerusalem. You know, many people thought he was going to come in like a king on a horse, on a white horse of all horses, and with like swords and whatever else in his hand. And he came in humble before them on a donkey, on a donkey riding side saddle like a girl, even with people proclaiming that he is the Lord. And this was making the Pharisees mad because this was Sunday. This was the Sabbath day. And these people are worshiping him on the Sabbath day. So looking at it from a Jewish perspective, it's like, how are all these people deceived? Like, how are all of these people just so enamored with this one guy? So this is beginning to make them more upset. This was the start of the end for him. Like Palm Sunday through Easter Sunday, that's when Jesus was crucified. He was brought into jail later in the week. And then on Friday, he was crucified. And on Sunday, Easter Sunday, he rose from the dead. But was the final straw that broke all of the back. They've seen him heal people on the Sabbath day before. They've seen him forgive people's sin. But this, the way he came into the city, this started a plot into motion to kill Jesus. All right, so if you will read where I left off at, Luke 19, verse 45, and then go over to Luke 20.
Luke 19, 45? I see. When Jesus entered the temple courts, he began to drive out those who were selling. It is written, he said to them, my house will be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. Every day he was teaching at the temple, but the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the leaders among the people were trying to kill him. Yet they could not find any way to do it, because all the people hung on his words.
And start. Yeah.
All right. One day as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple courts and proclaiming the good news, the chief priests and the teachers of law together with the elders came up to him. Tell us by what authority you are doing these things, they said. Who gave you this authority? He replied, I will also ask you a question. Tell me, John's baptism, was it from heaven or of human origin? They discussed it among themselves and said, if we say from heaven, he will ask, why didn't you believe him? But if we say of human origin, all the people will stone us because they are persuaded that John was a prophet. So they answered, we don't know where it was from. Jesus said, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things.
I stop with that. So Jesus walked into the temple. Some version of this says that he was slapping people, like he got angry at the fact that they were selling stuff in the temple. And after he kicked everybody out, he stayed there and started preaching. And the Pharisees, the Sadducees, who had rights to the temple, walked up to Jesus. I'm imagining they in the corner of the temple listening to him teach and can't figure out, like, okay, the stuff he's teaching seems to be true, seems to be real. Let's go ask him a question. So the question they asked him is, tell us by whose authority are you doing these things? They thought that Jesus was from Satan. So Satan was healing people. Satan was bringing people back from the dead. Satan was telling people their sins are forgiven. Never once crossed their mind that this was God telling them how to live, how to do things. They were so blinded by their own hatred for him that they couldn't see who was truly working through him.
So they're probably not, kind of jealous of him.
Yeah, because we don't see any mention of any of the Pharisees and Sadducees making a Bible. And we don't see any of their names except for Saul, who later becomes Paul, who writes the majority of the New Testament. But for the rest of them, clearly it was something a little bit off about them. So I'm going to read the parable of the tenants, and then you can read the paying taxes to the Caesars. All right, verse 9, Luke 20, verse 9. He went on to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, rented it to some farmers, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants so they would give him some fruit of the vineyard. But the tenants beat him and sent him away empty-handed. He sent another servant, but they also beat him and treated shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. He sent a third, and they wounded him and threw him out. The owner of the vineyard said, what shall I do? I will send my son, whom I love. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the tenants saw him, they talked the matter over. This is their heir, they said. Let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they threw him out of the vineyard, and they killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyards to others. When the people heard this, they said, God forbid. Jesus looked directly at them and said, and what is the meaning of which is written? The stone the builder rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken into pieces, and anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately because they knew he had spoken this parable against them, but they were afraid of the people. So Jesus gave this parable. In my Bible version, it calls it the parable of the tenants. But this parable described exactly what was going to happen to Jesus. Jesus knew what was going to happen to him. Even though Peter rebuked him in Matthew 16, Jesus knew how he was going to die. He knew who was going to kill. I think this was a little bit of like, okay, I have an audience now of Pharisees and Sadducees. I need to tell them what they're going to do to me. Maybe this will convince them to not do it. Even hearing that.
He was trying to tell them that he was the one. That's why they're blind. They don't understand. They can't see it. But I'm the one.
He is the one. He's like Neo in the Matrix. He's the one. But they were so blinded by that hatred of him that they couldn't figure out how to handle him. Like it says that they wanted to jail him immediately, kill him immediately, or the teacher of the law, chief priest, looked for a way to arrest him immediately because he knew that he was speaking against them, but they were afraid of people. So there must have been a massive crowd out there that they were afraid because the priests were like superstars. The Pharisees and Sadducees, they were like superstars in the world. So for them to be afraid of the people, Jesus must have a crowd of like thousands for them to be scared and shaking in their boots. All right, so if you would read paying taxes, Caesar 20 through 26.
It says, keeping a close watch on him, they sent spies who pretended to be sincere. They hoped to catch this in something he said, so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the government. So the spies questioned him, Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right for us to pay tax to Caesar or not? He saw through the duplicity and said to them, Show me a denarius, whose image and inscription are on it. Caesar's, they replied. He said to them, Then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. They were unable to trap him in what he had said there in public, and astonished by his answer, they became silent.
So in this verse, they were trying to trap him with taxes. They couldn't trap him with the word. They couldn't trap him directly. So they were like, oh, I know how to get him. I'm going to get him with taxes. And then Jesus was so smart. He looked at the money and said, whose image is on this money? And it said, Caesar's image. So basically, like if you're reading out of King James, it says, render to Caesar what is his. So Jesus, like, pay your taxes to Caesar. And don't worry about me. You know, let me give to God what I want to give to God, but you give Caesar what is due to Caesar. And it was nothing they could say to that because Jerusalem was under Roman rule at that time. So since they were under Roman rule, Caesar was the emperor of Rome. He had his governor there was Pontius Pilate, which we're going to hear about later. But Caesar ruled Rome. So they were trying to get him to say something against Rome so that the Roman citizens could arrest him, but they still couldn't find anything on Jesus. You have anything you want to say to that?
And he said, give unto God what is God's. So that's telling him, you know, he is from God. That's crazy because if God really wanted what he says, he'd take everybody's soul.
And everything.
Yeah, and just start brand new.
Exactly.
I guess that's what you say whenever he does come back, that's what he's going to do. Because how can God deny himself, right?
Right.
God his spirit.
Exactly.
There ain't no way they're doing that. Because if we are burning in hell, God gives that. And even in hell, it says he's going to be. He's everywhere. He's in everything. That's why he went to God with God's. That's crazy.
Now, look at who was trying to trap him this entire time. Everything we read so far, it was the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the priests of the law. They're trying to trap Jesus, not the Romans, not unbelievers. This were people who believed in God but didn't believe in Jesus, trying to trap him. That just blows my mind. All right, so I'm going to read verses 27 through 40. Some of the Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to Jesus with a question. Teacher, they said, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife with no children, that man must marry the widow and raise up the offspring for his brother. Now there are 7 brothers. The first one married a woman and died childless. The second one and then the third married her. And in the same way, the 7 died, leaving no children. Finally, the woman died too. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife shall she be, since the 7 were married to her? Jesus replied, the people of this age marry and are given in marriage. But those who consider worthy of taking part in the age and the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They can no longer die, for they are like angels. They are God's children, since they are children of the resurrection. But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive. Some of the teachers of the law responded, well said, teacher, and no one dared to ask him any more questions. Like, what he said to them was so profound that, they're like, okay, he right there. And I love at the end of this parable that nobody tried to kill him or trap him. They were blown away by his answers.
So in heaven, we're not given to things that we're given to here on earth.
Right. He wants us to live our life to the fullest and focus on the living. Like when Jesus
focus, I think he's focused on him.
Well, yeah, focus on him because he is alive. He's an alive God. That was the example that he gave of Moses, that God called God the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he's a God of the living, not a God of the dead. And this is really prevalent in the time of Jewish people because they recognize those 3 people higher in the Bible than anyone else in the Jewish world. So for him to say those 3 names specifically, and that God is about those who are living, not about those who are dead, but he sees everyone as alive. That just blew their minds. All right, so if you will read 41 through 47. It's like 2.
And his whose son is the Messiah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, then Jesus said to them, why is it said that the Messiah is the son of David? David himself declares in the book of Psalms, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. David calls him Lord. How then can he be his son? Warning against teachers of the law. When all the people were listening, Jesus said to his disciples, beware of teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and know to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and have the most important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished most severely.
All right, so the first thing is whose son is the Messiah? So they're trying to come across as who is the Messiah's dad is a better way of saying that. But whose son is the Messiah? So Jesus said to them simply, David calls him Lord. How can he be his son? So Jesus was trying to explain to them in the best way that he could that he and God and the Holy Spirit are one, and they can't be separated. So even though I'm the Son of God, man incarnate here on earth with you, I'm also from God. And God, which the Jewish people do well, they call him Hashem. They don't even write out the name God. They write G-D whenever they're writing out the name God. So he was saying to them emphatically, I am God. I am the one. I am the one who was sent without saying it. He gave them this little mini message. The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for their feet. That is a quote from Psalms 20, verse 43. And then you move on to warning against teachers of the law. was that while all the people were listening, so I like to imagine that the Pharisees and Sadducees and other chief priests were listening to Jesus speak. He said, beware of teachers of the law. I'm sure this made them really happy. He told them to beware of teachers of the law because they just pray. And this was all stuff that was commonplace for priests to do. Because you look at the Old Testament, especially Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. In Book of Deuteronomy, it talks about the priests coming into the houses to remove diseases. When women was on their period, they was considered unclean. The priest was involved in your everyday life. So when you lost your husband, you had no man to take care of you. So the priest started to take advantage of the widows, and they would offer them these really lengthy prayers in exchange for food, in exchange for stuff, because the widows were, they were lacking male company. So the Pharisees and Sadducees would go sit in their house. So Jesus was basically telling them in front of them, like, hey, I think this is wrong what you're doing to the widows. He said that beware the teachers of the law, and like to walk around in flowing robes, and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and have the most important seats in the banquets. So he was pushing them on, or egging them on, if you will, because Jesus knew what he was saying to them. The crowd may not know, and the disciples may not have known, but Jesus knew. Yes, he knew what was in their hearts. And the people are doing it honestly. They're like, hey, come in my house. Or, hey, we're having a wedding. The priest just sit at the front of the head table. You think about that. We still do this to this day. Like at wedding ceremony, where do we sit the preacher? Right up there with the bride. Like, he has the most prestigious place. And it was even bigger in the Jewish custom to do that then. So
just taking advantage of the widows because their husbands were deceased.
Exactly. And they were offering them a really long prayer because most of them were uneducated women. Women weren't allowed to go to school past, I forgot what it is, but like school age 8. Women didn't really go to school past age 8. Age 8 to 10, pretty much boys went to school. And then past age 10, past age 12, you were apprenticing or working with more people gonna do. Yeah. So if you were a priest or altar boy, Catholic church like called, you were working with the church. So you were learning more about the church. So you were still in school because Torah was their main book that they used to teach out of. They didn't teach like out of textbooks like we have. They taught from the Bible and what they knew of the Bible at the time. This is my turn to get trying to read.
My turn. We're going to that was the end of that one.
Luke 21. So let's, yeah, so page Luke 21, just read 1 through 4 for now.
All right. The widow's offering. As Jesus looked up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. He says, truly I tell you, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she out of her poverty put in all she had to live on.
So in the middle of this right here, Jesus was teaching us, it's okay to have money, but when you're giving disproportionately to what you make, and this is what the widow was doing, she was giving disproportionately to what she made. I like this story because the King James refers to this as a widow with 2 mites. This is extremely similar to what happened to Elijah. When Elijah, the story we read of Elijah, and he went to the widow's house. Yeah, they only had no water and oil and cornmeal to make enough bread for her family. But she gave everything to him, and God gave it back to her.
And that's what's her faith. That's what she did. All that she had, that's all she had. But she believed without a doubt. She gave it away. Here, boom. I give you all I got because I know I got more coming.
Exactly. And it's not that Jesus is against people being rich, Mm-hmm. He clearly speaks of people as well. But he sees where money and things can get in the way of why you're truly worshiping God. I've been to many church services where Like the people with a lot of money, they would hold their money in their hand. They would make sure that people saw them put their money into the offering basket. They wouldn't use the envelope. They wouldn't pay online. They physically brought hundreds and hundreds of dollars to give. And this would be the equivalent of somebody going up with 2 pennies.
Would you say though that this is though just take it? Come on, from the widows. Yes.
Well, yeah, that happened
Thank
too.
you, Jesus.
Unfortunately,
Show out, brother.
Unfortunately, a lot of that still happens today in the church where, sad to say, a lot of pastors and preachers and priests.
That's why they say, like I told you that one time, I said, man, is your heart really with God? Or you just come to church just to go, just to see if it's real, if it's true, because you want to see a miracle. And it says in the Bible, a miracle ain't gonna be given no more. You just gotta trust and believe. That's why I always tell a lot of people, man, if you wanna find God, you need to go ahead and get lost so you can get found. So you don't go to church thinking you're just gonna go automatically. I ain't gonna say you're not gonna automatically say that you can go get baptized and boom, God got you there. You're talking about his attention on you. He sees you got something wrong in there. But for real, he wants you to live your life, do what you do. And when it's time, he's gonna come get you. He's gonna call you. You're gonna fall. Everybody falls. He's gonna get you when it's time.
Yep. I like that. All right. I should have traded with you. All right.
that was long, right?
Yeah. All right. The destruction of the temple is a sign of the end time. Verse 5, Luke 21. Some of his disciples were remarking about how the temple was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God. But Jesus said, as for what you see here, the time will come when not one stone will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down. Teacher, they asked, when will these things take place? And what will be the sign that they are about to take place? He replied, watch out that you are not deceived, for many will come in my name, claiming, I am he, the time is near. And I was just talking to somebody about this recently, about signs of the end time. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and uprising, do not be frightened. These things must happen first, but the end will not come right away. So a lot of people think that the end time is going to happen right then. Verse 10, then he said to them, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes, famines, and pestilence in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. But before all of this, they will seize you and persecute you. They will hand you over to the synagogues and put you in prison. And you will be brought before kings and governors, and all on account of my name. And so you will bear testimony to me. But make up your mind not to worry beforehand how you will defend yourselves. For I will give you words and wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. You will be betrayed even by your parents, brothers and sisters, relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. Everyone will hate you because of me, but not a hair of your head will perish. Stand firm and you will win life. When you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you will know that its desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountain. Let those in the city get out, and let those in the country not enter the city. For this is the time of punishment and fulfillment of all that has been written. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. There will be great distress in the land and wrath against this people. They will fall by the sword and will be taken as prisoners to all the nations. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming to the world, when the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, they will see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. He told them this parable. Look at the fig tree and all of the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourself and know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things are happening, you know that the kingdom of God is near. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all of these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Be careful of your hearts. Be careful, all your hearts will be weighed down with corrosion, drunkenness, and anxiety of life. And that day will be close with you suddenly like a trap, but will come on all of those who live on the face of the whole earth. Be always on the watch and pray that you may be able to escape all that is about to happen, and that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. Each day, Jesus was teaching at the temple, and each evening he went out to spend the night on the hill called the Mount of Olives. And all of the people came in early in the morning to hear him at the temple. All right, so let's go to Luke 22. We're almost done for today. Yeah, we're going to stop at, I'm going to go to
Verse 1?
Yep, verse 1. I'm going to let you read. So, verse 1 through 38.
Ooh, my phone's at 5%, but I'm gonna try to get whatever I can.
Oh, grab a charger and plug it in next to you.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Where the phone dies. When my phone get at 5%, then it's quickly to 3, then it's at 2, then it's off. I never get to 1.
That's how I was like, man, my phone's dying, and I'm over here trying to read.
There you go.
It's at 4%. All right, so Judas agreed to betray Jesus. Now the festival of unleavened bread called the Passover was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present. The Last Supper. Then came the day of unleavened bread.
Actually, stop it right there. I want to show you some videos. This video is simply called The Last Supper. And it's from the movie The Son of God.
Just something. The TV show, The Son of God, or the movie?
The movie?
We thank you, Lord, by whose word everything comes to be. Amen. Amen. This is our last meal together. Before I die. What do you mean? I'm going to be betrayed to my enemies. Don't be afraid. Trust in God. Trust in me, your son. You know the way to where I'm going.
You know where you're going. How come you know the way?
I am the way. The truth. And the life. Take it. Eat it. This is my body. This is my blood. Remember me by doing this. I'm going to the Father, but I will always be with you. Now I must tell you that one of you here will betray me. Oh, whoever eats this I will not betray you. That is my mind. Let him go. You will all fall away. Rabbi, I will not fall away. I will lay down my life with you. Will you? I will. Peter, I tell you, before the dawn, you will deny me 3 times.
Right. So that technically was all Thursday night, Friday morning, depending on how you look at the Hebrew calendar. They believed that the day was from sunup to sundown. So this technically was Friday, which is a lot of people have thrown into controversy whether or not Jesus was there for 3 days. So he died on Friday afternoon, Friday at 1 o'clock. Then that night came, Friday night, but we would call it Friday night. The Jewish people would call it Saturday morning. So he died on a Friday, from Saturday night to Saturday night. Then from Sunday morning to when he rose up the third Sunday morning. So that's how we get 3 days from Friday to Sunday. People looking at our calendar like, well, he died at 1 o'clock on Friday, and he came alive at early in the morning on Sunday morning. You know, they're like, that's like 2.5 days. But it was 3 whole days that Jesus was.
So he rose at night, Sunday night.
No, he rose Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
So he died Friday afternoon. So then when Friday night came, that's 1 day. Then he was in the grave from Saturday night to Sunday night. That's 2 days. And then from Sunday night, Sunday morning, nighttime until the daylight came up, that's Sunday morning. So that's how we get 3 days, the third day. Which is why we have church now on Sunday versus Saturday. The church in the Bible is on Saturday and not Sunday. So this is what we just read, all happened on the week from Palm Sunday leading up to Jesus' arrest and subsequent resurrection. So next week, this coming Sunday is Palm Sunday. So starting next Sunday is Holy Week. So we meet next week at the bridge. We're going to be talking about Easter because that's going to be the Sunday following. We're going to finish the story of Son of God along with reading scriptures about what happened to Jesus and what happened after Easter as well. Because Jesus hung out for 40 days or 49. He doesn't go away to Acts chapter 1. So he's in the end of every book of the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But he hangs out for 40 days. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about the effects of how Easter changed the world. So how that one day changed the world. One thing that Jesus did in the Last Supper that we constantly do as believers today is communion. We don't refer to communion as the Last Supper anymore, but that's exactly what it is. And the Last Supper was only the Last Supper because it was celebrating Passover. So Passover was a time that that when Moses was with Pharaoh, and he said that all of your firstborn would die, but those with the blood over the doorposts, those houses will be passed over. So that's what they were celebrating. So Jesus' resurrection ties Jewish customs with Christian customs, even though Jewish people celebrate Passover at the same time that we're celebrating Easter. They don't connect the dots that these two things are the same. So, but as Christians, when we celebrate Passover, which we should be taking communion this Thursday night, but a lot of people don't do communion this Thursday night, but we should be taking communion, and I'm going to encourage, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, Thursday next week.
Easter Thursday.
Yeah, Easter Thursday before Easter.
Friday.
Yeah, before Good Friday. So I'm going to mention this again at the bridge that everybody should be doing communion next week.
So we're going to meet up this coming Tuesday. We want to talk about Easter.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Easter this coming Tuesday. We're talking about Palm Sunday leading up past Palm Sunday. And next week we're going to talk about Easter leading past Easter.
Yeah, the 40 days that he was after.
Yeah, so that's when.
Have you ever thought that maybe God could be just sometimes just walking around earth, just visiting here? He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And he's in all of us. But sometimes I think, what if one day I run into God?
Well, he showed up. He showed up to Paul, or he showed up to Saul, and caused this conversion to happen. So I think Jesus does come back, but we won't recognize him as Jesus. When we recognize him as Jesus, that's gonna be the end. That's gonna be. But like you look at the Mormon Church, John Smith, he believed that he had a conversation with Jesus. Joseph Smith. He believed he had a conversation with Jesus that led him to the book that was written, in gold, And like, yeah, I don't trust that.
That's great.
All right, you got any questions, comments, or remarks? Finish a little earlier tonight.
I don't know. Are we? No, it's been 30 minutes. It's usually last 30 minutes, right?
Well, we normally start at teaching. We normally start teaching at 7:30, and we go to 8:30. But we started about 7:20 and went to 8:15.
Yeah.
Because I have about an hour for each week.
Just.
It's out the video.
Man, that was great. Very good.